heard you talking a little bit about determinism.
Yes.
And you laid that down as just a truth that
Right.
we have free will. Right?
Yep.
And I want to maybe we can walk down together and look at, let's say if it's not, and just entertain this idea and then see where we get.
You bet.
So we know that what you're hearing right now, what you're seeing all around you, is really part of your consciousness, right? It's more accurate to say that all of you guys are inside my consciousness, and you're tweaking and pinching my nerves in my brain, as opposed to saying my consciousness is out here, right? And they've run tests which see that, and actually, let me back up a little. And whenever I hear you talk, it's arising from nothing, like that. And also, if you think about your own thoughts, right? Thoughts, they arise in your head, and you have no control over where they arise from. They just sort of pop up here. It's as foreign to me as your voices that just arises also within my consciousness.
Yep.
And they've run tests which can see that this electrical signaling that's happening in the brain happens moments before you know what's going on. For instance, if I have a button that says yes or no to a simple answer, arbitrary question, right? Then they'll know which button you're going to press before you know what button you're going to press. And so now if we take that idea and sort of expand it outwards, right?
Yes.
And you're not responsible for what genes you're born in or what environment you're in.
Right.
Those initial conditions were not your choice.
Right.
And when you're young, and if you take that, the bottom idea, and then say that you don't choose your initial conditions, don't choose your environment, you can expand that through your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think free will is there's a possibility that it may be an illusion. And so that's why I don't like you putting it down as a truth claim.
You bet. I understand. I got no problem with it. Okay? So free will is an illusion. Not only is free will an illusion, but she might be an illusion. Right?
Yeah.
All right? Yeah, she might be an illusion. So she might be an illusion. Right? But right about now, I have to make a decision. And the decision I have to make is, does the evidence point to her being an illusion, or does the evidence point to her being there, and I better stop right there?
She's probably there. I mean,
Probably.
I agree.
You can't prove it, right?
Yeah.
So it's possibly an illusion. My point to you is simple, sir. My point is, you can't live that way. You have to make decisions based on evidence. And the evidence is, she is there, so my hand better stop right there. Because if I continue swinging, it's going to lead to pain, a breakdown in our friendship. It's going to be not good. So, let's not live in this la-la land of anything's possible. Yes, I am aware that anything is possible, and it's possible she's not here. I have to live my life based on evidence. And the same thing with free will. Believe it or not, sir, not everybody speaks to me as politely and respectfully as you have, and I appreciate it, okay? And when I'm confronted by a rascal, and there are a few rascals on this campus who come and speak here to me, I have to make a decision. And the decision I have to make is everything in me wants to basically embarrass the guy because he's so illogical and irrational. He's so emotionally biased against Christ. It's a joke. But I got to be careful that I don't do that. I have done it too often. And I have to make a decision to respect the guy, even though I think he's jerking me around, playing games with my head. And it's not an easy decision. So you see, sir, at times I've blown it, and I've been disrespectful and shredded a guy, and all other times I've been respectful. So my experience of life is, I don't have to respect you, and I don't have to disrespect you. I have a free will. That's my experience. Now, if your experience is different, so be it. But guess what? If you tell me you don't have a free will and you whoop up on him, I'm going to grab you and I'm going to say, guess what? You do have a free will. You abuse the free will in whooping up on him, and I'm holding you responsible. So that's why I believe there's a free will.
I agree that free will is really important in our society. Like, it's a deterrent, right? And
It's a deterrent?
what I mean is, it's important to have punishments for someone's actions and hold them accountable for their actions. So that, and if everyone had the notion that we don't have any free will, then you're right. It would be chaotic. It wouldn't work, right? A thing that bothers me about the notion of free will is how it applies to children, young adults versus adults.
Good.
For some reason, there's a gray line between when a kid becomes an adult. There's not a point where a kid becomes an adult, right? And for some reason, if a young child commits a crime, then they're not held to the same standard than an adult is.
Exactly.
But yet, but the thing is, you sort of say, oh, it wasn't their fault. They grew up this way, and it was their environment. It's like taking a step back from free will and saying, well, it's not really they didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
So that's why that's why I think that we should take it with a healthy bit of it's important to believe in free will, but also to realize that there's a good chance that a lot of the things that we do in our life are determined by the initial conditions in our environment, and then so we have not as harsh punishments if I got angry and slapped someone. An example for which is, do you guys remember, this is unfortunate, but the shooter on the here, right?
You bet.
They found, he wrote a letter saying, I didn't know why I killed my wife. I don't know why I killed my kids. Someone needs to look into my brain to see if anything's wrong with me. Right? And when they did, they found a tumor in a part of his brain which was related to self-control. And that's vindicating, isn't it? You sort of realize, well, he had a tumor. He couldn't help himself. And so he shouldn't be held as reliable, right? But I posit that every action that I do, whether it might in random urge slap someone, right? It could also be just a tiny tumor in the brain which caused that electrical signal which made me do it. So healthy bit of thinking about free will may not be as free as we think, and also that people they're totally not free agents, although they are to an extent. That's what I wanted to talk about. And also a funny note I wanted to say is it's weird the atheist labeling. I don't understand the atheist labeling, because atheist is just not believing, right? And
atheism is saying there is no God.
Yeah, exactly. Not believing in a God, right?
There is no God.
Okay, atheism is that. But it's weird that you have to label yourself as something you're not. For instance, there are plenty of astronomers. I don't go around telling people that I'm a non-astronomer, right? That's everyone else who's not. So, the burden of truth lies upon the person who's religious.
Yes.
And being an atheist is just not being religious. So
I disagree. I am convinced that because God has left so much evidence of his existence, an atheist doesn't find God for the same reason that a criminal does not find the police. He's running away.
I feel like you're conflating ethics with religion.
The two are inextricably bound.
Okay. And I would like to say that that's not the case.
How can you scientifically prove an ethic?
Here, can I give you an example?
Please do.
So, the 16th century, Europe, Christians, right? They found there was a custom where they would take cats in a net, and then they'd hang them over a fire and slowly lower the cats into the fire, and they would scream, and then people would find enjoyment out of this. And now it's barbaric. How could you do something like that? It's ethically totally unsound, right? But the thing is, they're still following the religious Christianity dogma of the time. And so I would like to say that ethics is a part coming from Christianity and other religions who have in their texts things of how you should live your life. For instance, the Golden Rule, one of the most revolutionary ethics statements from Christianity. but also like our modern secular society is the one that's facilitating this change in ethics. Like, the reason why we don't stone apostates and we don't stone like people who are divorced anymore, or that we don't kill witches or atheists, right, is because our secular society is influencing the religious Christianity to pick and choose, to cherry pick the parts of the religious text that fit with our modern ethical values. Does that follow?
I like W.H. Auden, the brilliant humanist author who was an atheist, went into a movie theater in New York City to watch a movie of Nazi Germans taking Poland. And in that movie theater in New York City, Germans hopped up out of their seats saying, "Kill the Pole! Kill the Pole!" W.H. Auden had an incredibly naively optimistic view of human nature. He watched incredible hatred in German Americans towards Poles as put on that movie screen in Manhattan. He goes out of that movie theater realizing evil is real. My atheism is bankrupt. Because atheism gives no basis for evil being real. It's not real. It just is. And W.H. Auden comes to faith in Christ because he begins to grapple with ethics. Real right, real wrong, real justice, real injustice.